Auto Mundial is sponsored by Trade Centre.
Welcome to Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and review show. This time we're taking a look at the gorgeous new concept car from Lancia as one of the best names in the business makes its return.
We also have new releases from Kia and VW, plus Acura's new Integra.
And we say goodbye to one of the 21st century's most iconic sports cars with a final edition Audi TT.
That's all coming up, but first, the news.
Several European luxury car manufacturers, including McLaren, Ferrari and Aston Martin, could be forced to build EVs as the USA announces strict new emissions regulations. Previously, low-volume car makers had been given special dispensation to build high CO2 cars, but new proposals from the Environmental Protection Agency will end them, forcing supercar builders to sell EVs to compensate for their gas guzzlers. Aston Martin, Ferrari, Lotus and McLaren had negotiated their own gentler targets than mass-market car makers, but the EPA now believes the rise in electrification means the rules should apply to them as well. Lotus has already said that the new Emira will be its last combustion-powered car, and both Ferrari and Aston have EVs planned for 2025. McLaren, though, hasn't revealed a date for any upcoming electric projects.
As anyone who's ever had to drive a long distance in the UK with an electric car will tell you, British EV infrastructure can be a real pain. Unreliable chargers coupled with our unpredictable climate that can cause your range to drop means range anxiety is still the main reason people are put off by EVs. Now, Volkswagen is hoping to reduce that anxiety with this, the new ID.7. Taking on the Tesla Model 3 and BMW i4, the ID.7 sits at the top of VW's electric lineup with enough range to ease the frustration of broken charging points. From launch, the ID.7 Pro with its 77 kilowatt-hour battery will be available with a WLTP range of up to 382 miles, while the 82 kilowatt Pro S, launching soon after, will be capable of up to 435 miles, about 60 miles more than a Tesla Model 3. Despite its saloon car shape, the ID.7 is a hatchback with a sloping roofline designed to be as slippery as possible to achieve a drag coefficient of 0.2 CD. Everything from the door mirrors to the wheels has been sculpted to slice through the air with as little resistance as possible to help achieve the 435-mile range. Sadly, the ultra-efficient design philosophy doesn't look quite as good as it does on the Mercedes EQXX. The large, high-sided bodywork makes the wheels look a bit too small, but the black pillars and fancy lighting do something towards making up for it. Step inside, and it all feels a bit more premium than an ID.3. Just about everything is soft to the touch, and the new Ergo Active seats with an optional massage function have been certified by the German Campaign for Healthier Backs. It's also apparent that Volkswagen has been listening to its customer feedback. The nasty haptic touch buttons on previous ID models were always a sticking point, so VW has got rid. However, instead of replacing the climate controls with easy-to-use buttons, they've instead moved them to the infotainment screen. Exactly how convenient that will be remains to be seen. But to combat any potential frustration, VW has also implemented a voice activation system. Similar to Siri or Alexa, VW's version will respond to prompts, automatically adjusting things like the temperature and direction of airflow. The infotainment screen itself is a 15-inch with VW's new and improved operating system. Interestingly, there isn't a second massive screen in front of the driver. Instead of that or traditional dials, there's a small digital cluster nestled within the dashboard. This works alongside a heads-up display which projects your speed and route guidance.
The ID.7 is far from the only four-door electric German car though, and it has some worthy rivals. This is the BMW i4, a 3 Series sized EV with all the styling cues of BMW's other recent releases. There are numerous different versions on offer, with the highest range version being the eDrive 40 Sport. This can achieve 365 miles on a charge, which is decent, although some way behind the new Volkswagen. Step inside the i4 and you immediately know you're in a BMW. With loads of leather, metal surfaces and a sporty 3-spoke steering wheel, it encourages you to get in and go for a drive. There's a smart 15-inch screen paired with a digital instrument panel, and some glossy graphics with BMW's latest iDrive system.
The VW ID.7 then has some stiff competition. It's expected to cost roughly the same as the i4 when it goes on sale later this year, but can its range overcome the allure of a BMW badge?
The Kia Seltos is a relatively new model in the US car market, but in just a short amount of time, it's already become one of the Korean brand's best sellers, and with a fresh update for the 2024 model year, that probably is not set to change. More significant than your typical model year changes, the Seltos has been given a new face with an updated front end and updated lights front and back. There are some new wheels too and more tech. Based on the same platform as the Hyundai Kona, the drivetrain options are all fairly familiar. A 2-litre 4-pot paired to a CVT gearbox provides power to the front-wheel drive lower spec models, while a turbocharged 1.6-litre power plant putting out 195 brake horsepower is enough for the range-topping versions, up by 20 horsepower from the old version. High-spec models also benefit from 4-wheel drive and a 7-speed automatic transmission. Complementing the new touchscreen on the dashboard is a 7-inch display behind the steering wheel, and if selected on the options list, a heads-up display, all helping to inform the driver. A wireless phone charging pad is also an option, while USB ports are sprinkled throughout the cabin, and the options list is headlined by an 8-speaker Bose sound system. Despite being based on the Hyundai Kona platform, the Seltos has significantly more space inside, meaning it's perfectly capable of holding its own against compact SUV rivals such as this, the Volkswagen Tau.
Named after a town in New Mexico famed for its art and historic architecture, the Taos has been very much designed with Americans in mind. Its styling is more conservative than its European equivalents, and there are no hybrid versions on offer. Instead, the Taos uses a 1.5-litre petrol motor from a Jetta, putting out 158 horsepower with 2- and 4-wheel drive versions available. Despite being the smallest SUV in the range, it is actually a little bit wider than the world market Tiguan, and its long wheelbase and tall roof make it one of the roomiest and most usable cars in its class. Rivals like the Ford Bronco Sport and the Kia Seltos may offer more style, but nothing gets close to the Taos in terms of sheer practicality. Climb inside the roomy cabin and you're greeted by typical VW build quality. It is built to last and is a noticeable step up from many of its domestic rivals. Base Model S versions get decent standard kit, but it's worth stumping up the extra $4,000 for the SE, which gains a modern infotainment system and a load of safety tech, as well as fancier upholstery. Volkswagen says it has no plans to bring the Taos to Europe, and with cars like the T-Cross, T-Roc and Tiguan already doing a stellar job of filling just about every crossover SUV niche, we can't say we're that surprised.
The same goes for the Kia. It's on sale in North America and Asia, but with a healthy lineup of 7 SUVs and crossovers already on offer, we think we'll be okay. After the break, Lancia returns and the Audi TT bows out.
Auto Mundial is sponsored by Trade Centre. Auto Mundial is sponsored by Trade Centre. Coming up, Lancia's latest concept car, but first... With the news that the Audi TT will likely be replaced by an electric SUV, the legacy of the popular little sports car is seemingly approaching its end. The current model, only the third generation car since 1998, has been with us in some form since 2014, so it is feeling its age. With sales dwindling, Audi has given the TT one last hurrah with a new limited edition. Based on the top-spec TT-RS, the so-called Iconic Edition will be limited to just 100 units, each boasting some exclusive features and a breathtaking £87,000 price tag. At almost 30 grand more than a standard RS and 20 grand more than a range-topping Vorsprung edition, the Iconic is very much a car for collectors and real TT enthusiasts. Helping it stand out from regular TTs, the Iconic Edition gets a new gloss black grille with 20-inch alloys borrowed from the RS Sport model. The biggest difference, though, is the addition of a new wind tunnel developed aero kit, which adds some canards to the front bumper and a deeper splitter. At the back, there's an eye-catching fixed rear wing, providing some extra downforce. The interior has been treated to some upgrades too. The Napa leather and Alcantara seats are embroidered with Iconic Edition motifs, while yellow stitching is present throughout the cabin. Each car also gets its build number emblazoned on top of the gear lever. Nardo Grey is the only colour option, a shade that we think suits the car perfectly. Under the bonnet, the Iconic uses the same engine as a regular TT RS, a raucous 2.5-litre 5-cylinder, producing exactly the same figures as the regular car, 395 bhp and 354 foot-pounds of torque sent to all four wheels. 0 to 62 is unchanged at 3.7 seconds, but the top speed takes a 1 mile per hour hit down to 174 due to the extra drag from the rear wing. An extra 30 grand for a body kit and some yellow stitching doesn't seem like great value then, especially when the standard RS is still excellent and still available to order. With just 100 being built though, with just 11 of those destined for the UK, the iconic edition will no doubt be a must-have for TT enthusiasts as the final hurrah for one of Germany's most recognisable coupes.
While sales of saloon cars in Europe are falling, in North America sedans are just as popular as ever. And the continent is lucky enough to get some excellent performance models of regular cars, such as the Hyundai Elantra N and the Subaru WRX. And now there is a new one, the Acura Integra Type S. Effectively a Honda Civic Type R in a suit, the Type S is marketed as a more practical and grown-up version of its Japanese counterpart. It gets the same turbocharged 2-litre inline-4 engine you get in the Type R, but this time power is up to 320 thanks to the Acura's unique exhaust system, 5 more than the Honda. Despite the extra power, the Integra is slightly heavier than the Type R, so expect performance stats to be similar. The 4-cylinder engine is hooked up to a pleasingly simple 6-speed manual gearbox with rev matching, while a limited slip diff is standard equipment on the Integra. Like the Type R, the Integra has the same dual-axis front suspension setup, while the front and rear tracking is wider too. Also upgraded are the brakes, with larger rotors front and rear, as well as lightweight 19-inch wheels equipped with sticky 265 Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres. The Type S gets 3 driving modes: Comfort, Sport and Sport Plus, with adaptive dampers that adjust based on the mode selected. Externally, the Type S looks a lot more subdued compared to the Honda Type R, with a lip spoiler in place of the giant rear wing found on the Civic, while the air intakes, front splitter and rear diffuser look more subtle. Despite this, its aggressive stance still makes the Integra stand out from the crowd, with wider arches and a beautiful triple exhaust system. Step inside and the Integra is as modern as can be, with a 9-inch touchscreen infotainment screen offering Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as a heads-up display, something missing from the Civic. The front seats are trimmed in leather and suede and are heated, while the driver's seat is power adjustable and has adjustable lumbar support. So how does it compare to its 4-door opposition?
Starting with the Elantra N, and straight away it's a good-looking car. Hyundai is on a roll with their N-Division cars as of late, and this one is no different. It gets an aggressive new front splitter, a big rear diffuser housing a chunky pair of tailpipes, and a rear spoiler, while a set of 19-inch alloys complete the look. It gets the same turbocharged 2-litre engine as the i30N, producing 276 brake horsepower, or 286 for short 10-second bursts if you push the right buttons. That's quite a bit less than the Acura, especially as the Elantra weighs about the same. Inside, the N is much more track-focused than the Type S, with bucket seats and a grippy steering wheel. So what about the Subaru WRX? Like the Elantra, the WRX is less powerful than the Integra at 267 brake horsepower, also weighs about the same. Its signature 4-wheel drive system does mean it is quick though, accelerating to 60 in just 5.5 seconds.
All in all, it's a shame we won't see the Type S in Europe anytime soon. With its illustrious name, extra practicality compared to the Type R, and more mature styling, we think it would do very well against the numerous fast Audis, BMWs and Mercs on this side of the pond.
One of the greatest names in motorsport. In recent years, the historic Italian brand Lancia has been reduced to a shadow of its former self. Since 2015, it has continued to build just one model, the Ypsilon. Itself nothing more than a rebodied Fiat, that's only sold in Italy. Now though, under the umbrella of parent company Stellantis, Lancia is set for a comeback, and its first reveal couldn't be more different from the aging Ypsilon. Here it is. It's called the PU+RA HPE Coupe Concept, an unfortunate name that is apparently pronounced simply as PU+RA. PU+RA is short for pure and radical, which seems fitting, and HPE stands for High Performance Electric. Taking inspiration from Lancia's back catalogue, the PU+RA is a drop-dead gorgeous concept car, indicating what the brand's future styling might look like. The PU+RA isn't directly previewing any new model, but it's certainly caught our attention. It's an elegant 2+2 coupe with a terrific glass canopy, sat on top of an ultra-modern wedge-shaped body reminiscent of the iconic Lancia Stratos. The traditional Lancia grille has been reimagined with LED light strips, while the circular rear lights are a familiar Lancia touch. The glass canopy houses a superbly futuristic interior, with a so-called virtual interface that combines climate, audio and lighting controls into one movable display. We could spend hours waxing lyrical about the tiny details all over the PU+RA, but the main takeaway is that Lancia is back. A new Ypsilon is coming next year, most likely based on the electric Fiat 500, and 2 new models are due by 2028. Better yet, no longer will Lancia's dealer network be limited to Italy, with plans to expand it all over Europe.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we check out the new Jeep Wrangler.
Auto Mundial is sponsored by Trade Centre.